You've probably seen the headlines, maybe even the chilling TV interviews. We're going to break down a case that started with a husband's desperate plea for his family to come home and ended with one of the most horrifying discoveries imaginable. This is the anatomy of the Watts family murders, a story that peeled back the layers of a so-called picture-perfect life to reveal something truly dark.
Okay, let's set the scene. We're in Frederick, Colorado. It's August 13th, 2018. It's a quiet suburban town, you know the type. But on this particular morning, something is very, very wrong. A young mother and her two little girls have, for all intents and purposes, just vanished.
Now, if you were to look at the Watts family from the outside, you'd think they had it all. I mean, they had this big, beautiful 5-bedroom house, and if you check their social media, it was just wall-to-wall happiness, a thriving, perfect little family. But, well, as we're about to see, that image was just that. An image, a facade that was about to crumble.
So who are we talking about here? First, there's Shanann Watts. She's 34, and she's pregnant with their third child, a boy they were going to name Nico. Her husband, Chris, he's 33, works for an oil and gas company called Anadarko. And then there were their two little girls, Bella, who was 4, and Celeste, or Cece, who was just 3. I mean, they were literally building their family, their future.
But here's the thing. Underneath that shiny surface, there were some serious cracks. And one of the biggest, which really only makes sense when you look back, was that the family had declared bankruptcy back in 2015. I mean, that points to some major financial stress, right? A kind of pressure cooker building up, completely hidden from everyone else.
So, how do we get from a happy family, even with financial troubles, to a national tragedy? Well, it all starts when they vanish.
Okay, let's walk through the timeline of that day, August 13th. It's super important. Shanann gets home really late, like 1:48 in the morning, from a business trip. A friend drops her off. A few hours later in the morning, she misses an OB/GYN appointment, which is a big deal. Her friend, Nicole Atkinson, starts to get worried. She goes over to the house around lunchtime, but nobody answers. By 1:40 p.m., she's convinced something is wrong and she calls the police for a welfare check.
So when the police get inside, the scene is weird. It's just off. Shanann's purse is there with her keys and medicine. Her phone is there, just stuffed between some couch cushions. Even her wedding ring is on the nightstand. And get this, her car is in the garage, with the girls' car seats still buckled in. The family dog is just fine. You know, this isn't what it looks like when a mom decides to just pack up and leave. This was the first major sign that something was terribly, terribly wrong.
Okay, so his wife and kids are gone. Naturally, all eyes turn to the husband, Chris Watts, and he starts talking. He starts telling a story, and folks, this story is going to unravel faster than you can believe.
And not only is he talking to police, he goes on TV. Just days after they disappear, he's giving these really emotional interviews to the local news. He's pleading, saying things like, "I have no idea where they went, I just want them back." He's playing the part of the distraught husband and father, desperate for his family to come home. And looking back now, it's just an absolutely chilling performance.
But that performance, it started to fall apart almost right away. See, Chris told the police a very specific story. He said he left for work around 5:15 in the morning, and that was the last time he saw any of them. Simple enough, right? Wrong. A neighbor's security camera told a totally different story. The footage caught him backing his work truck right up to the garage and loading something into it before the sun was even up. And just like that, with one piece of video, investigators knew he was lying.
The walls were closing in, and fast. The final nail in the coffin for his story came on August 15th, just 2 days after they went missing. The FBI brought him in for a polygraph test, a lie detector test. And he failed it, miserably. And it's right after that that his whole story just blows up. So, with his lies totally exposed, Chris finally starts to confess. But, and this is so important, his first confession wasn't the truth, not even close. It was another calculated lie, a twisted story designed to do one thing, make him look less guilty.
This first version of his story it's just monstrous. He talks to his dad first and then the police. He admits that Shanann is dead, but then he claims he only killed her in a blind rage after he saw that she had smothered their daughters. Can you even imagine? It's an unbelievable, disgusting lie. But it did accomplish one thing. He finally told the police where to find the bodies.
And the discovery, well, It's the stuff of nightmares. At his work site in a remote oil field, investigators found Shanann's body in a shallow grave. And the girls, this is just so hard to even say. The bodies of Bella and Celeste were found submerged inside two different massive crude oil tanks. He had pushed them through these tiny hatches, only about 8 inches wide. The evidence on Bella's body even showed scratches consistent with being forced through that opening. It's just beyond comprehension.
But that story he told, the one where he tried to blame Shanann for her own children's deaths, it was a complete fabrication. It took months, but eventually, from prison, Chris finally admitted what really happened. And the real story? It's somehow even darker.
Okay, so here's the real cold-blooded truth. He wanted a new life with a woman he was having an affair with. He and Shanann argued about getting a divorce, and he strangled her to death right there in their bedroom. Then his 4-year-old daughter, Bella, walked in and saw her mother. What did he do? He put Shannon's body in his truck, along with his 2 living daughters. He drove them all out to that oil field, and only then did he smother both girls with his bare hands before getting rid of all 3 bodies. It's a level of evil that's hard to process.
You know, there's actually a term for this kind of crime, familicide. It's when someone kills their entire family. But here's what makes the Chris Watts case so unusual, according to experts. Most of the time, the person who does this, the family annihilator, commits suicide right after. Not Chris Watts. No. He went on TV, crafted this whole elaborate cover story, and begged for his family to come home.
So, once the real story was out, the justice system moved pretty quickly.
On November 6, 2018, Chris Watts pleaded guilty to everything. Now, the charges are a little complex, so let's break it down. He pleaded guilty to 5 counts of first-degree murder. You might be wondering, why 5? Well, in Colorado, because he was in a position of trust and the girls were under 12, each murder counted for extra charges. So that's 1 for Shanann, 2 for Bella, and 2 for Cece. On top of that, he pleaded guilty to unlawfully terminating a pregnancy for his unborn son Nico, and 3 counts of tampering with a deceased body.
So, with a crime this heinous, you might be asking, why wasn't he facing the death penalty? Well, he took a plea deal, and the only reason that deal was on the table was because of Shanann's family. They specifically asked the DA to take the death penalty off the table. In what has to be one of the most incredible acts of grace I've ever heard of, they said they just didn't want any more death.
So what was the final sentence? 5. 5 life sentences with no chance of parole, ever. 3 of those have to be served one after the other. And just for good measure, they added another 84 years on top of that. The bottom line is simple. Christopher Watts will die in prison.
So, the case is closed. Justice, in a legal sense, has been served. But it leaves us all with this haunting question that we might never, ever have a real answer to. We know the what, and we know the how. But the why? The deep down reason why a father would choose to annihilate his own family in such a cold, calculated, and cruel way, that remains one of the most profound and disturbing mysteries of all.